Drug dealers, specifically who had dropped out of school, and I knew they were smart. You know, they just weren't feeling school, you know, but they were smart. It takes a lot, you know, to stand on the block and distribute, you know, narcotics, you know. And I knew they had dreams and they had goals. And then there was a group of single parent mothers who had gotten pregnant and removed from the traditional program. So when I was teaching these students, I was in the university and I wanted to give back. I discovered that it wasn't an academic struggle they had, they struggled motivationally, like they weren't inspired to learn or to go to school or to keep going after their dreams. And so I found a motivational book. It was like a daily stories. And so I would read the stories, but they would say, Mr. Thomas, I didn't get it. Like I don't understand it. So I would read it and then I would break it down. And after about a month or 2 or 3 of doing it, they were getting pumped up and loving it. I'm like, all right, so apparently along with learning, you have to motivate and inspire people. So I did it for about a year or 2, and you know how it goes. The news found out, did a newspaper article, went on like a Good Morning American show, did that. Then I started getting invited to middle schools, high schools, and I kind of realized like, whoa, this is a tool that really help people. And so many people from where I'm from, Detroit, you know, are disenfranchised. They're not, you know, motivated. They don't think they can do certain things. And I always tell people, man, I grew up on 8 Mile. I don't know if you guys ever heard of the movie before. You heard the movie 8 Mile? Well, a lot of people think that 8 Mile is a street, and it is. But more than a street, 8 Mile is a divider in Michigan between the rich and the poor. You know, the rich live on 9, 10, 11, 12, and when you start going down, you know, or up, down 8, you know, 7, 6, 5, you see poverty. And so just being a kid, I was fortunate to grow up on 8 Mile, but I was still on the other side of 8 Mile. So when we would go to Fairlane, you know, or we would ride our bikes over the 9 Mile. You weren't really supposed to do it, but we would, and it's not saying that you couldn't, but we knew that blacks lived on this side and whites lived on that side in Michigan. There was a lot of racism, but we would go over there and you see the houses over there and the cars. So I knew when I got to college that these kids had never been outside of their neighborhood, the projects. And so I just was like, look, y'all can do it. You can make it happen. And it just started, man, I went from one place to colleges to college basketball, college football, or, you know, what we call American football. And it just started growing from there, man. And so it was really out of the work came more work. And that's what inspired me. It was working. And I was seeing kids getting their GED, going to college, mothers, like, you know, reliving their dream, not stopping because they had a child or two. And I was like, wow, this works. And so I just kept doing it for years, man. I just kept doing that work. You know, I feel like for me, I made a lot of mistakes when I was younger. You know, I was talking to my biological father the other day, you know, and I was saying, you know, I kind of grew up angry and bitter because he wasn't in my life. But there are other kids who've been through what I've been through and they didn't do it that way. So I still made a choice without realizing I was making a choice. I chose to see it in the negative instead of seeing it in the positive. So for me, every time I can help a kid or an adult to refocus their energy on positivity, for me, it's a fulfillment. It's like, I feel like I'm making up for my past. Like, you know, when you do wrong and then you start doing right, you feel like, all right, I'm changing the hands of time. So for me, that's what fulfills me. Every person that says, you changed my life, and especially for people who are already giants at what they do, like CEOs and, you know, people who are wealthy, when I get them to look at, man, I haven't reached my fullest potential. There is more to do. That really excites me because to get from a B to an A is a lot different than going from like a kid who's failing and he kind of does a little better. But when you're already good at what you do, to go from good to great, there's not a lot of room for growth. So when I'm able to inspire people who are already good at what they do, that's another level of, man, I'm making a real impact.